Hello and welcome to Diaspora Network, where we showcase Nigerians making their country proud around the world. I'm Teniola Oyetayo. In today's episode, we shine light on the crucial historical legacy of the African diaspora. We'll highlight Nigerian historians who are dedicated to preserving this legacy. Plus, we have the privilege of hearing from Professor Akim Adi, the first history professor of African heritage in Britain. But before we dive into that, let's take a quick look at the news of the week.
A 2-year-old toddler, Tobena Uchendu, has been making headlines after yet another appearance with a football star. This time it was Nigerian national team player Michel Alozie. His account, which is run by his dad, features Tobena kicking a football around a pitch and scoring goals, and it's garnered millions of views across the world, with many fascinated by the toddler's unique skills, often comparing his moves to Chelsea star Raheem Sterling. The toddler started kicking a ball when he was just 8 months old. Tobena's mother first noticed he was very quick on his feet when he started to use his walker. When she gave him a ball to play with, the rest is history. Following his viral videos online, the 2-year-old has had the honour of meeting several notable professional footballers, such as fellow Nigerian Victor Osimhen, Cameroonian footballer Frank Anguissa, and Chelsea's Enzo Fernandez. London-based artist Zara Abdulrazaq recently held an exhibition showcasing her new body of work titled Limitless. Zara, who goes by the artist name Peyton Doyart, presented a collection of 14 abstract paintings with key explorations of colour and words. We caught up with her at the exhibition.
So Limitless, as it says in the brochure, is an exploration of colour. I just wanted to basically go into the bank of creativity that is my mind and express myself using as many and as few in some of the paintings colors as possible. You have ones like petrichor, which are more cohesive in terms of the colors I chose to use, and then you have others like coolth and warmth that are contrasting yet they somehow work. So for me, this print is something that I want to take worldwide. I want this to be universal. I want people to see lines with the dots and think, oh, that's Peyton Doyart. I know exactly who that is. But essentially, I just want this to be known worldwide and appreciated and enjoyed. I don't think it has to be anything complex. I think if colors look nice together, they look nice together. And they might to one person and not to the other, because art is purely subjective. So for me, I just want to create something that everybody can enjoy. Being Nigerian is a crucial part of my identity, in that it's in the way I speak, it's in the way I walk, it's in my confidence, it's in my skin color, it's in my forehead, it's in everything. So I can't stray away from that, whether I wanted to or not. And I think that the boldness of some of the colors in this is what reflects my Nigerian heritage, reflects my upbringing. And I can't not be Nigerian, so there always has to be that aspect in all my work, for sure.
This year's Rue Prize has been awarded to Nigerian-born Professor Ibrahim Abubakar, cementing his status of one of the world's foremost public health professionals. Professor Abubakar, who was raised in Bauchi State, is currently the Dean of the Faculty of Population Health Sciences at University College London, as well as a professor in infectious disease epidemiology. He has tirelessly dedicated his life to improving public health globally, and the award recognises his unwavering commitment to improving health outcomes over the last 3 decades. Now in its 10th year, the Rue Prize, awarded by the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation, recognises outstanding health practitioners all across the globe. Professor Abubakar reacted by saying, "I feel lucky that my career and role has allowed me to have the privileges of working in a top university in the UK, impacting health policy in my adopted country." Juliana Olayinka with the Diaspora Network News Wrap in London.
We've also been keeping an eye on the activities of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission as they continue to engage citizens abroad through various programs. Let's take a look.
The 2023 Badagry Door of Return Festival, organized by the Nigerians and Diaspora Commission, NIDCOM, in collaboration with the federal and Lagos state governments, is a historical, spiritual and economic event. It is also an opportunity for hundreds of Africans in the diaspora to unite and experience the hidden treasures of Badagry. Chairman of the Commission, Mrs. Abike Dabiri Erawa, received special guest of honor, Dr. Julius Garvey, before the start of the event.
I'm here and it was a very good play. No problem at all.
Dr. Garvey speaks on the significance of African freedom.
We have to build on that common African spirituality to create the educational systems, to create the economic systems, to create the political systems and the society that we want for our people. And, at the present time, I think you can see internationally that the world is changing in terms of it becoming now multipolarity as opposed to simply the hegemony of the West. I think Africa has to be prepared to take its place at the table, and this is happening.
For the NIDCOM boss, uniting Nigerians both home and abroad is paramount.
The key thing is, as long as Africa remains not as developed as it should be, the world will continue to look down on all of us as blacks. It doesn't matter where you are. So it's important that we have that connection with the historic African diaspora. A lot of them are doing their DNA, and they are saying, oh, we're Nigeria, we're this, we're that. So this is our own way of having a diaspora festival, of uniting them, and they want to invest in Nigeria. So that's very important. If others are doing it, why not our own brothers that were taken away hundreds of years ago? Whose ancestors were taken away hundreds of years ago. So that is the message that it's been, and the governor has been very supportive of this, that has made this happen.
Guests were also treated to theatrical performances, visits to historical sites, and other activities.
The rich and diverse experiences of Africans in the diaspora have often been overshadowed, leaving numerous aspects of history unexplored. African historians in the diaspora play a pivotal role in ensuring these stories are shared and preserved. Here are some of these dedicated individuals.
Nigeria-born Professor Wale Adebanwi is the first Black Rhodes Professor of Race Relations at the prestigious University of Oxford. He was also director of the African Studies Center, School of Interdisciplinary Area Studies from 2017 to 2020. He is presently a Presidential Penn Compact Professor of African Studies at the University of Pennsylvania. After studying mass communication at the University of Lagos, Nigeria, Professor Adebanwi went ahead to acquire more knowledge, climbing extraordinary heights. He has 2 doctorate degrees from the University of Ibadan and University of Cambridge, where he was a Bill Gates Scholar.
Is delighted to honor Jacob Olupona with the 2018 Martin Marty Award.
Nigerian-born American Professor Jacob Olupona is a writer and scholar of religious studies. He is a professor of African religious traditions at the Harvard Divinity School, with a joint appointment as Professor of African and African American Studies in the Faculty of Arts and Sciences at Harvard University. Prior to this role, he served as a professor at the University of California. He earned his bachelor's degree from the University of Nigeria, a master's and postdoctorate degree from Boston University. He's authored and edited several books and research. In year 2000, he received an honorary doctorate in divinity from the University of Edinburgh, Scotland. He's a recipient of the 2018 Martin E. Marty Award for Public Understanding of Religion. In April this year, he was elected to the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. Another outstanding Nigerian historian and professor of African Studies is Professor Toyin Falola. He is a fellow of the Historical Society of Nigeria and the Nigerian Academy of Letters. Professor Falola was born in Ibadan, southwest Nigeria. He earned a bachelor's and doctorate degree in history from the University of Ife, now Obafemi Awolowo University. He joined the faculty at the University of Texas, Austin in 1991. He's also held short-term teaching appointments at the University of Cambridge in England, York University in Canada, Smith College, Massachusetts, and the Australian National University in Canberra. He has authored and edited over 100 books. For his outstanding contribution to African studies, Professor Falala received honorary doctorates, lifetime career awards, and honors from various parts of the world. These are some of Nigeria's exceptional scholars who've traversed the world, making a mark in the field of education.
Our special report this week focuses on the significance of teaching African history to future generations, thereby fostering a more inclusive and comprehensive education.
The importance of history in understanding contemporary Africa cannot be overemphasized. This is because African history shines the light on the continent's past by examining the unity and diversity of African cultures, slavery, religion, colonial conquest, and the diaspora.
Mutana bawa, mutana bawa.
Mutana bawa.
Mutana bawa.
Beyond popular knowledge of the role of diasporans as drivers of remittances, trade, and foreign direct investment, they contribute immensely to the promotion of African history globally. Whether through everyday interactions or formal education, individuals, intellectuals, scholars, and communities continue to share this knowledge. In recent times, many international institutions have incorporated African history into their curriculum as part of efforts to promote African cultures, educate future generations, thereby fostering a more inclusive and comprehensive education, and Nigerian history scholars are blazing the trail in this regard. Professor David Olusoga, Professor Saheed Aderito, and Professor Chima Kore are some Nigerian history scholars who are putting the African history on the global map. Many believe this practice, amongst many other things, enables historically marginalized groups to become visible in a curriculum that affirms their identities and dismantles limited perceptions of their cultures.
British Nigerian professor Akim Adi has devoted his life to ensuring that African stories are heard. He's authored numerous books that illuminate the experiences and contributions of African and Black communities in the UK and beyond. Born in London in 1957, Professor Akim Adi's early years were spent in Kent, with a brief period of his teenage life in Ekiti State, Nigeria, his father's place of origin. With a desire to become a history teacher, he studied African history and social anthropology at the School of Oriental and African Studies when he turned 18. However, after graduating, he faced rejection from all the teacher training colleges he applied to. For a decade, he seized any opportunity to teach history, including at the community level and even at places like Broadmoor Mental Hospital. In 1987, he decided to return to academia to pursue his PhD, focusing on researching the anti-colonial politics of West African students in Britain. During his doctoral studies, he recognized the lack of representation of African history and the African diaspora and co-founded the Black and Asian Studies Association. After earning his PhD in 1994, Professor Akim Adi faced numerous challenges in securing a university-level position. It wasn't until 2015 that he achieved the rank of professor, becoming the first Black history professor of African heritage in the country. For him, this accomplishment highlighted the ongoing struggle to address representation issues in academia. Despite these setbacks, Professor Adi has remained dedicated to the promotion of African history. In addition to writing numerous books, he leads the History Matters group, addressing the underrepresentation of students and teachers of African and Caribbean heritage in history. He's also the founder of the Young Historians Project, a non-profit organization with the mission of encouraging and supporting young historians. Coming up on the program, we explore the challenges and inspiration behind Professor Akim Hadi's journey. Dr. Akim Hadi, it's a pleasure to have you join us on Diaspora Network.
Thank you for inviting me. Good to be here.
What was it like for you studying history at university at that time?
The inspiration was really not necessarily at university when I was much younger, a teenager growing up in Britain, and I didn't have access to any history relating to Africa or Africans. So I had to discover that history for myself, investigate it, research it, find books. This is long before the internet existed. In those days, one had to find books. So to satisfy my own curiosity, my own need to know something about Africa and its history, that's what started me off when I was about 13. So that has always inspired me to then be able to share my knowledge with others, particularly young people, and to give them what I didn't have when I was growing up. So that's what really inspired me. University obviously taught me some basics of the history of the continent. And then it was really my own research, especially my postgraduate research, looking at the history of West Africans in Britain in particular, but also the history of the anti-colonial struggle in West Africa. That really prepared me, you could say, to be an academic historian.
So I actually read about you spending some months in Nigeria whilst you were about 18. How was that for you? And how has your Nigerian heritage influenced your perspective on African diaspora history?
Well, when I was 18, I went to find my father, who I hadn't seen for that time about 10 years. Then it was just really a journey of discovery, of finding out where my father was, getting in touch with other members of the family, traveling to what is now Kitty State and so on, and finding everybody. And so obviously that was a very emotional journey. It taught me a lot about life, about myself, about the importance of family. So it was a very interesting experience. I spent about 6 months in Nigeria at that time. And then obviously I've been back many times since.
And just looking through your personal journey, you mentioned how information wasn't really readily available as it is now. How did it make you feel, after going through so much to get where you are? How did it make you feel to become the, first Black history professor in Britain?
Well, I was surprised, to be honest, because it took me a very long time, lots of setbacks, two PhDs or 1.5 PhDs. I always felt that I lost a lot of time, wasted a lot of time, you could say, started very, very late in a way. And so to become the first was, there's some personal achievement there, but it also is a reflection on the kind of problems that we face in Britain, that not very many people of African or Caribbean heritage are historians or study history. A lot of young people are put off studying history because it's so Eurocentric and so on. So it made me more determined to try and create opportunities for others to follow in my footsteps, as it were, to be able to write about history, to become historians, and to be academic historians.
Well, Black History Month is, an important time to reflect on the contributions and achievements of Black individuals like yourself throughout history. What does this month mean to you personally, and how do you think it has evolved over the years?
Well, to me, it's the recognition of a problem. The problem being that the history is largely ignored the rest of the year. And I think that problem is still reflected, not just in the month, but how the history of Africa and the African diaspora is treated, as I say, throughout the year. You probably know that in my own case, I've just recently been sacked from my position as professor of the history of Africa and the African diaspora. So that tells you something about the state of higher education in Britain, how this history is regarded, how it's treated with contempt, to be honest. So I think that the struggles that we have in regard to history are things that we need to do much more. We need to be much more organized, not just in October, but throughout the rest of the year, in order to advance the interests of historians and of this particular history.
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting that you pointed out, the challenges that you faced. Have there been any more major challenges you faced as you've advanced in your academic career, and how have you been able to overcome them and, to keep going? What keeps you going, essentially?
Well, this is the second time I've been sacked from a position. I've made redundant from a university position, and the last time was about 14, 15 years ago. That was a big blow at that time. But you just have to come back stronger, really. And it makes you stronger. It makes you more determined to carry on doing what you're doing. It shows that, in a way, it shows the importance of what you're trying to do, the kind of history that I'm trying to write and to encourage other people to engage with. So I think as long as there's a necessity to do something and you have the ability to contribute something to doing it, then you have a duty to do it. So that's how I look at it. And now I'm in probably a stronger position. I have more, young people around me, 16 students, organizations that we've established in that period, like the Young Historians Project, like History Matters Initiative, which is bringing younger people who are very, very committed, very enthusiastic, and very able. And so that gives me personally a lot of optimism and strength to go on and encourage them and to develop all the work that we want to develop. So as in everything, you keep going, just keep going.
Yeah, and we've spoken about your challenges, but what's your proudest achievements and impact on the field of history, especially in somehow changing the narrative and perception of Black history in the UK?
That's quite a difficult question. I suppose some people would point to being nominated or shortlisted for the Wolfson History Prize is important. I think establishing, as I said, establishing things like the Young Historians Project, to see we're now in our 8th year of that work, having young people who are engaging with history, who are doing amazing things, some of them going on to do PhDs, some of them going on to write books themselves. That gives me a lot of say pleasure, but yeah, a lot of satisfaction that the work I'm doing is helping others. So I think that's extremely important. I think also when people attack my work, there are various racists around who make videos on YouTube and say all kinds of unpleasant things about my work. That gives me great satisfaction as well. When such people are attacking me, then I know I'm doing something, very, very useful. So, yeah, those would be probably the two things.
I think it really points out that representation matters, and that the voices in academia is also really essential. So just as we wrap up, what advice would you give to aspiring historians, especially those from underrepresented backgrounds who wish to follow in your footsteps?
The key thing is to keep going. If you are interested in something, you want to do it, whatever aspect of history it is, whether it's history of the African continent or Africans in Britain, Africans in the diaspora generally, keep going. Don't give up. Don't let setbacks put you off. Don't think that, the time is up because you're 25 or you're 30 or you're 35 or you're 40 or whatever age you are. Just keep going and doing what you do. That's the most important thing.
You know, it's really been an interesting conversation, Dr. Akim Adi. Thank you for speaking to us and, you know, for the amazing work you do highlighting the importance of the history of the African diaspora. Thank you again.
You're very welcome. Anytime.
And that's a wrap for this edition of Diaspora Network. You can catch all our episodes on our YouTube channel and website, channelstv.com. I'm Teniola Oyetayo, and I look forward to sharing more amazing and inspiring stories of Nigerians in the diaspora with you next time.